So welcome to everybody who is live or watching the recordings. If you don't know me, I am Dr. Irene Kopp. This is a special passion project of mine because over 20 years ago, my family and I almost died in a near fatal car accident because I had reached adrenal exhaustion. As a doctor, didn't know it. And unfortunately, my 4-year-old son suffered a catastrophic brain injury where he needed to be airlifted 3 hours away to the nearest specialty pediatric hospital to undergo life-saving brain surgery. And even after he came out, they said he would never walk, talk, or pass high school because he's literally missing about 20% of his brain. And I broke 10 bones, including my neck, back, and pelvis. But my broken bones were the least of it. I refused to accept that bleak prognosis of the pediatric neurosurgeon, one of the preeminent in the world. I was like, no, this cannot happen. It will not happen to my son. It will not happen to my son because it was my fault. And because I know the power of neuroplasticity. I know the power of belief. And so I decided in that moment that I would do anything it took, everything it took to help my son heal against all odds. And I'm also going to say heal against everyone else who believed it couldn't happen, because the medical establishment didn't believe, the courts didn't believe, even because my son was considered a ward of the court after his injury. So it was an uphill battle that I gladly took on. And the second vow I made in that moment was that I needed to help as many people in the world as possible avoid the suffering that my family and I endured, because I realized that I was simply a statistic, that far from being a monster of a mother who almost killed her kids, far from being an incompetent doctor who didn't realize that I was in adrenal exhaustion, I was simply one of millions, and I'm going to say hundreds of millions of people now post-COVID who are in adrenal exhaustion, what I call neurological survival mode, and who have hit the wall like I did, or who are about to. And I need to, and I'm on a mission, myself and my team, to prevent as many people as possible from suffering as we did. Because I now know that you can have the life that you want, you desire, the success, the contribution, which is part of success, without sacrificing your health, your relationships, or your personal life. This research study is part of that. You could say it's the culmination of over 2 decades, over 3 decades, if you include all of my clinical experience. All those answers I searched high and low for to help my son heal against all odds, including becoming specialized in brain injury and neuroscience, including going back to school. I was already a doctor of chiropractic and an acupuncturist and more. And I went back to school and got my medical degree, all so I could go toe to toe with the medical establishment and all of the experts and say, no, I am the expert. I know what's best for my son. And these answers that I gleaned created tools, created resources that helped my son heal. I'll take you out of the suspense. My son, yes, he's still missing. I go like this because this is like the wedge that's missing in his brain. I have SPECT scans to show it and reports. He not only walks and talks, he graduated high school. And then he graduated as an engineer from one of the best schools in the world. Proud mama moment. So these tools helped my son heal against all odds. And then I started fulfilling the second vow, which is helping people worldwide. And I am really thrilled, jazzed, honored to say that my tools and resources have reached over 1.5 million people worldwide. Those tools and resources were very powerful. They helped my son in a way that is supposed to be medically and physically impossible. And I still wasn't satisfied because it took time and it took guidance. And part of that mission is that I knew I needed to create a tool that could be used by anyone, anywhere, in any language, no matter what the life circumstances. Didn't require years of talk therapy or other therapy, didn't require expert guidance. That after being shown the initial instructions, video and written, that someone from children on up to 92 years old beyond could empower themselves and make the shift. And I don't know about you guys, I happen to be a very impatient person. I know, true confessions. And I wanted it to be as fast as possible. It needed to be simple so it could be understood by a child, and it needed to be easy, and it needed to be fast, and of course, it needed to be powerful. All of that came together in the S.O.S shift. S.O.S literally stands for Save Our Souls. The old mariner's term that ships would send out the old Morse code. In other words, when you're about to sink, this is your go-to. It is for people who are in mental and emotional survival mode, perhaps where they're feeling anxious, depressed, overwhelmed, panicked. Also, physical survival mode. Perhaps you're literally in the trenches of the battle and you truly are facing a life or death threat. And I'm going to say, most importantly, I mean, obviously, if it really is truly life or death, you need something that can help in the moment. Most of us are not in that place. Most of us are not in that place. And even if you are not feeling anxious, not feeling overwhelmed, depressed, hopeless, despair, angry, resentful, all of those emotions that show that you are in survival mode, you can be in what I call neurological survival mode. Neurological survival mode. And by that, I mean your body, especially your brain and nervous system, holds the scars of past traumas, of past betrayals, past abandonments, neglect, not just of you, of your parents, of your grandparents, your great grandparents. They've literally shown through epigenetic trauma that it goes back generations, where traumas of your ancestors suffered literally modifies the expression of your genetic DNA, your genetic expression, so that it ramps up diseases and diminishes your healthy genetic expression, like, oh, your immune system. So it sets you up for things like autoimmune disorders, diabetes, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, yes, cancer. You can say that while this is not the only cause of all chronic disease and the largest causes of mortality worldwide, it is one of the biggest and unrecognized causes of chronic disease and mortality. So I knew that this needed to shoulder a heavy load, or more importantly, take that heavy load off of you. That's a lot to ask, right? Fast, easy, powerful, right? And the answer was the S.O.S shift, 3 minutes long, 3 simple steps. Now, I can't show you what those steps are because this is a research study. We've already had participants start using this. The results are phenomenal. And this is the next step to get that scientific validation. So this is a pilot study, which means I can't show you before you start the research study. So I know my team originally said that there was going to be a demo. Not today. I can promise you that it fits all of those criteria. 3 minutes, 3 steps. It is based on solid neuroscience, cutting edge neuroscience, and I'm even going to say quantum physics. It's based on solid clinical psychology, and it's also based on millennia of ancient Eastern medicine, like five element theory and Ayurveda. And even the Eastern medicine, most of what is in this small little 3 minute shift is already starting to be proven. I have something like 190 pages of citations around each of the steps. So that part you will need to trust the process. For the scientists who are watching and listening, I will remind you that the scientific method requires an open mind. It's the whole premise of the scientific method is I don't know what I don't know. So that we don't fall into the trap of believing that we already know everything that there is to know, because then we become flat earthers. Have you heard that term? It's often used derogatorily, but where it came from is when Galileo had the audacity to say that the earth was not the center of the universe and that it wasn't a flat disk. He was literally arrested, put under house arrested, threatened with torture until he recanted. Do we want to be that? Or do we want to stay open-minded and allow the scientific method to disprove? Because according to the scientific method, we can never actually truly prove something. We can only disprove it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the research study. I will say, first of all, it's completely self-funded by the Shift Institute. There are no fancy grants, which is why everything is low tech. We're keeping it as simple as possible and still get the results needed for the research. So all there is one pre-assessment that is going to be phenomenal value for you as well as for our team. Why? Because I always say awareness is 80% of the battle and the solution. And so the pre and post assessments that you're going to be taking are going to be helping you and us determine how survival mode is showing up for you in your life, where the greatest impacts, as well as how much it's impacting you. And as well as, it'll be give a good example of an assessment of, say, a scale of 0 to 10. So it's going to be very simple and easy while still being comprehensive. So you can figure about half an hour for each of the pre and post assessment. If you have challenges with it, all you need to do is email support@drirenecopp.com, and our team will be happy to hop on a call and help you walk through it while still giving you your privacy and confidentiality. Which brings me to another point. This is a completely confidential in terms of your identifying information. It is a research study. We will be using your data for the highest good. However, it will be mixed in with everyone else's. The only way we ever use identifiers like somebody's name or where they're from is if we are given express permission to do so. So, wanted to be clear on that. The registration for this closes on Sunday, November 30th. I believe noon is the kickoff call. It will be recorded because I understand that it's holiday time for many. And then the actual research study starts December 1st. So aside from the kickoff call, there'll be an ending call, and the pre and post assessments. It's literally doing the 3-minute SOS shift every single day and taking at most a couple moments. There's going to be like a little checklist journal where you can just say, this is how I felt before, this is how I felt afterwards, and scale of 0 to 10 kind of thing. So very, very easy, just check boxes. That's it. And that is the total research study for your part. Then our team will take all of the data and go back and crunch the numbers and so on to see what impact the S.O.S shift has. Now, one of the questions I get is, why 3 weeks? Well, for many, many years, it was said it takes about 3 weeks to create a habit. And everyone just said that. Happens to be wrong. That was somebody's best guess. That's not why I chose 3 weeks. However, research has since been done that shows that the length of time it takes to create a habit, to internalize it and make it part of your life and identity, is determined by the convenience, the complexity, like how well does it fit in with your life and how big a change is it? So the research study showed that starting to drink a glass of water before every meal took 11 days on average for subjects. And you could say that's probably one of the simplest that you can start. Whereas starting to work out and going to the gym can take almost 10, I think it was 268 days. So more than 10 months to create that habit where it became second nature. Why? Because it's way more complex, takes way more time, and it can be way more inconvenient, right? So I looked at that 11 days and the 268 days and went, all right, while you may not have completely internalized the SOS shift into your life, you'll be well on the way to creating that habit. 3 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes. The next question I get asked is, why 3 minutes? Because there are 3 steps. And I pared it down, started out with it, if you think of this as the tools I used to teach, I shrunk them down, 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 like right to their absolute minimum essence, so that we could minimize the time and still get the impacts. And those 3 steps I chose for their power in resetting your nervous system. So there's part of the neuroscience, as well as calming the whole nervous system. And this isn't just mentally and emotionally, it's neurologically. It's also stimulating your immune system and rebuilding your adrenal system. Remember, I said that I crashed and burned because of adrenal exhaustion, which is the end result of either chronic long-standing stress. And remember, that includes epigenetic trauma from your ancestors that you may not even be aware of, as well as if something is overwhelming, like in other words, like that. In other words, if you suffered a massive injury or illness that just took over your whole life like that, it can throw you into adrenal exhaustion. So we needed something to rebuild your adrenals, rebalance your hormones, because, and I have colleagues who have done research on this, that the number one hormone imbalance is not for women estrogen or progesterone, or for men testosterone. It's actually cortisol, stress hormone, where you either have too much, in other words, it's ramped up, or you're running on empty even of that, and you are in adrenal exhaustion, as I unfortunately was. So we needed something that is going to reset, rebalance your nervous system, heal your nervous system, rebalance your hormones, rebuild your adrenals, and then keep you out. So it was designed so that you would feel the impact, the positive impact, within that 3 minutes. When you just need that, okay, I got my breath, I got the relief that I need to, so that I can keep going if you are in the trenches. And remember, I said it's part of keeping you out of the trenches as well, keeping you out of survival mode. So if you're in there, you may have to do it multiple times. It's not because it doesn't work, it's because you're still in the trenches, either because of what life is throwing at you right now, or because you have been in survival mode for so long that your nervous system just goes, like a faulty breaker in your electrical panel may just go, it keeps flipping off because it's broken, which is the next point. Getting used to doing it every single day as a simple, easy, fast tool helps with neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain and nervous system to change, to grow, to heal. This is how my son was able to graduate from engineering despite still missing 20% of his brain. So the neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to change, literally means that you start pruning away the old neural connections from survival mode so that you can start growing new neural connections. of health, of well-being, of success. This is how so many of our clients have, not just my son, have healed against all odds. And I'm going to share the registration form. I'm going to walk you through it now so that you can see exactly what it looks like. All right. So here is the form. Like I said, really, really, really easy, straightforward. The S.O.S. Shift Pilot Research Study official registration. Yes, we're going to be asking for your email, your first and last name. We need some kind of identifier to add your data with and to guide you if you need support throughout. I will also ask again, where did you hear about this study? It doesn't have to be a long answer. It could be social media. It could be a friend, or you're already in my community. Especially for people who don't know. This is very important. Yes, you're helping us. Yes, you are paying it forward and helping millions, hopefully hundreds of millions of people throughout the world. And what's in it for you? Right? Why should you give up even 5 minutes a day and 3 weeks of your time? Because remember, I said awareness is 80% of the battle and the solution. So you are going to become perhaps one of those uncomfortable truths when you might have said, I'm not in survival mode. Got news for you. If you went through the sea bug, unless you've been like the Dalai Lama meditating for hours and for decades, chances are you are in survival mode, at least in some way, shape, or form. So you will discover how survival mode has been operating in your life, even if you haven't felt like it. You will be taught and guided through with a video on the S.O.S shift so that you will have that to follow. There will also be really quick written instructions to go with it so that you can get started immediately. All you have to do is keep that video bookmarked and just keep going back to it. Although people find that they learn it really, really quickly, which is the whole point, And I specifically chose the most stressful time of the year to test this, right? Because I really want to know, inquiring minds want to know just how good or bad or indifferent the S.O.S shift is. So you have the ability to now go into the stressful holiday season and the new year operating from a place of power instead of fear. And I wanted to put in here a quick sample of how it can show up without you realizing it. Poor sleep, weight gain, brain fog, cravings, and addictions. And addictions are not just nicotine, alcohol, drugs, gambling. It can also be risk-taking. It can also be the need to control, again, one of those uncomfortable truths, others or even ourselves. I'll say me too on this. Having an abusive childhood and lineage, I used to be a nano controller, not of other people, of my own life. I needed to have everything planned out up the wazoo. This is one of the biggest contributors to autoimmune disorders: poor eyesight, chronic pain, including migraines, low back pain, chronic fatigue, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, leading, of course, into diabetes and cardiovascular disease, perfectionism, procrastination, the stressed overachiever, strained relationships, volatile emotions, feeling helpless and powerless, like a puppet on a string, like life is being done to you. And then the inability to heal trauma and betrayal. And it is possible. Past participants of similar tools, same principles, just took longer, have recovered from so-called incurable diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, atrial fibrillation, for instance, multiple sclerosis, neurological disease, Graves, Hashimoto's, which are thyroid autoimmune, EMF, hypersensitivity, migraines, other chronic pain. They've mended relationships that felt like they were beyond hope. They've taken their businesses from rock bottom to top of the pile. They're sleeping through the night again. Their cravings diminish and even like gone, including for cigarettes, which is one of the hardest addictions to break. Waking up with energy instead of dread. These are all comments that others have said. Handling family gatherings and relationships without blowing up, making decisions faster, being able to focus, getting more done in less time. I already said why 3 weeks, because it's a sweet spot of where you will be starting to integrate it into your daily life, keeping in mind you're not going to be out of the woods. You'll be in that transition zone that I call the shift. Go figure, Shift Institute, like that phrase, where you either need to keep moving forward or you will slide back. And you will start to see massive changes in your life. People already are that have started using the S.O.S shift. 3 minutes, I already discussed that. And from here on is what the registration looks. Basically, you are committing that this is a research study only, does not constitute medical advice or treatment, even though I'm a medical doctor. You are taking full responsibility for your health and life as you use that little 3-minute tool. Asking you agree. You need to be at least 18 years old. We know that there are people who want to use this with their kids, and that is totally cool. I'm actually going to be creating a video showing how you can use this, teachers with their students, parents with their kids, or if you're a caregiver of others, because we have people in our community who have patients, have clients that they are professionally responsible for, and they have started using this to help their clients and patients as well. So for the purposes of whoever is actually taking this study, this participating, you need to be at least 18 years old. You commit to completing the study requirements, those two, the pre and post assessments, and doing the daily 3-minute S.O.S shift, as well as the journaling. Just literally, I said 5 minutes. It can be even shorter than that. It's like, how did I feel before? How am I feeling now? Check, 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 for the full 21 days. The information and tools are not to be shared outside this study because we want to make sure that we have it completely set. I mean, if we're not getting the results that we want, we will keep modifying and evolving it until we do get the results. And here's for you. This is, I am clear on why I'm participating and will keep that top of mind throughout the study. That is purely for you. This is a bonus that you are committing to yourself. You are choosing you. And then again, this is our responsibility, but you're agreeing that you acknowledge that your anonymous data will be shared as part of the study, and no identifying data will be shared without permission. That's it. That is how you register. For those of you on the replay, if you have questions before you fill out that registration form, please email support@drirenekopp.com, and happy to answer any questions before kickoff on November 30th. So I'll open it up now. Any questions for anyone who is here on the call live?
This exercise, does it require any special equipment or tools?
Great question. And the answer is no. The answer is no. It requires a finger or two, or maybe three. Literally, 3 fingers is all you need. And of course, coming with your body. The beauty of this shift is that you can do it anywhere, anytime. Right? I've had people say that they've been stuck in rush hour traffic, and please don't close your eyes when that happens. They have literally done at least parts of this shift while they're sitting in traffic so that they don't get frustrated. So oh, here's an opportunity I have to get that 3 minutes in. I'll do it right now. Another good point, while it is vital for you to do the full 3 minute shift all at once, at least once a day. If you are doing it other times, like you may find that there's one step that you feel really good doing it. So you might end up saying, okay, I have 1 minute. And what can I do in 1 minute? Well, just one of these steps will give you that relief in 1 minute. Great, great question. Thank you. And I will just finish by saying, thank you so much for your interest in joining the research study. I hope that you have all of the information that you need to determine if this is a fit for you right here, right now. And if not, please email us support@drirenekopp.com, and we will happily walk you through the steps and what is required and help you make your decision. I know this is a life changer and a game changer because we already have the results coming in from past participants. So, as I said, not only will you be helping yourself, you will also be helping the world. So thank you for helping us create that shift together. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the study.